All right, we're going to start this one off with a little bit of a rant. That game was frustrating. Leafs win 7-3 against the Canucks. This Canucks team is heavily flawed, and I think that's been made pretty clear over the last few days. And it's entirely on the defensive end. That's not to say that the defensemen have been the only issue, but it's been an issue also of forwards not back checking, not being physical enough. It's a whole defensive system issue. So my question is it a personnel issue? Partially. Is it a system issue? Potentially. Is it an effort issue? Probably. What's certain is that this is statistically the worst defense in the NHL. Another like 37, 38 shots allowed in this one again. And it's not a single issue problem where one modification would fix this team. You know, firing the GM helps next year at the earliest. Replacing the coach isn't guaranteed to make an impact. Trading for better players would be an iffy move for a team that's now 6-8 and clearly having a lot of issues. And with a GM who likely has one foot out the door. And even with a new GM, this team's capped out for the next year or two. So, you know, the Canucks have made it pretty clear in the offseason that they expected to be a playoff team this year. And regardless of the standings, this team is not playing like a playoff team. They don't have the defensive structure. They don't have the discipline. And they're just not able to stay in games because of it. And you know, something has to give here, right? This Canucks fan base, if you go on Twitter, again, number one thing trending in Vancouver right now is fire Benning. This Canucks fan base is frustrated. And, you know, something has to be done here. I've had enough platitudes from guys like Travis Green, who I still think is a fine coach, but I've had enough platitudes about how, you know, it's the same or a better team than last year, and our effort was fine. We're just making silly mistakes. Like, it's just not true. This team is not better than it was last year. It's not as good as it was last year. And last year, they were a very average team, and this year they are below average, and that's not a question. So tomorrow's video is going to be a breakdown of the defensive woes from this game and other games potentially. So make sure you're subscribed for that. And other videos coming are going to be like what GMs are available, just in case they do make a GM move, which I'm starting to think they should. Which coaches are available in case, you know, bringing in a new GM also means potentially bringing in a new coach. So we'll see what happens there. My name is Parker, and this is your recap for Toronto and Vancouver, February 4th, 2021. Leafs win 7-3 coming into this game. The Leafs were 7-2-1, and the Canucks are 6-7. The Leafs are going to move back into first place in the division, especially since it looks like Montreal is about to lose to Ottawa. Starting goalies in this one, Thatcher Demko and Freddie Anderson, two struggling goalies so far this year. Demko came in with an 8.96, Freddie Anderson with an 8.92. Anderson was okay tonight. Again, I think he only faced him like 20 shots. Demko struggled, and the defense let him struggle, and they couldn't help him out. He couldn't help them out. Just a mess all around. Lineup changes for this one. Jake Virtanen came back in for Zach McEwen. Had pretty much no impact on this game whatsoever. Horvat still with Miller and Besser. Pettersson still with Pearson and Höglander. It also came out before this game that Quinn Hughes was sore earlier in the season. That's why he was taking maintenance days, and that's why he looked a little bit off. So he should be 100% now. Canucks haven't won in Toronto since December 17th, 2011. So back when guys like Manny Malhotra were in the lineup. 3 minutes into this game, Austin Matthews just walks around JT Miller. Forward, coming back, covering on defense, and he was flat-footed. Matthews just burned him, beat Demko 5-hole, and that goal really showed to me, because I don't watch a lot of Toronto games, right? The Canucks play them twice a year. Usually their games are on early enough that I'm probably at the gym or doing something else. So I haven't really watched Matthews a lot, and I've always thought of him in my head as like, all he does is score goals. And I've kind of thought of him similar to how I think of Patrick Laine, and I'm 100% wrong. And to you Leafs fans who are just about to type something in the comments mad at me, I'm wrong. He is a game changer. He's a very good player. Dermott also left with an injury early in this game on his first shift, so Toronto was down to 5D. He didn't return for this one. A few minutes later, about 6.5 minutes in, Höglander just battling his booty off in the corner, ends up with the puck. There's sort of a logjam in front of the net. The Leafs aren't able to box anyone out. Pearson ends up jamming it home to tie the game up early. And then a couple minutes later, Pettersson had the puck in the corner. There was like a rebound that went to the corner. He tried to bank it in off of Freddie Anderson. It almost worked. It hit Anderson and just went just past the post on the other side. That would have been a game-changing play if that went in. Right after that, though, literally 15 seconds after Pettersson has that chance, Quinn Hughes takes a penalty for tripping John Tavares. Canucks go to the penalty kill. Spezza scores his first of the night. And Myers just didn't clear him out. He literally just Hyman was standing in front of the net. Spezza had the puck sort of on the wall. Myers just let Hyman stand perfectly in front of Demko. Spezza beats him to make it 2-1. That put Toronto's power play up at that time to 45.1% on the season. Myers then took another penalty, like he's taken a penalty basically every game this season, called on a high stick to the face of Nylander. That gets killed off. And then I wrote here, Tyler, please stop. Please stop taking penalties. Just stop. Shots in the first period, 12-6 Toronto, and the Leafs just looked fast. The Canucks could not keep up with Toronto. Toronto was just skating circles around them in the first period, and throughout this game, it was just a lack of effort from the Canucks and a lack of speed. In the second period, 3 minutes in, Marner plays it to Matthews on the side of the net, banks it off of Demko, who's looking the other way. This is a genius play from Marner, and this is something that that more players in the NHL should do. And it's when you're going behind the net, the goalie starts to follow this way because he can't see you, right? So he knows where the play's going. And then you make that pass back. And that's something that some players do really well. And Marner does it very well. And he had Matthews. Demko's looking the other way. Matthews puts it off him and in to make it 3-1. 22. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, Canucks are down 2 again early in the second period. Game's over. But Horvat came back 22 seconds later. JT Miller has sort of an open look from the top of the circle. And he looks off Anderson, feeds it to Horvat on the far side. Anderson slides over, but he's like, he's 2 feet tall at that point. Horvat puts it upstairs to make it 3-2. So Canucks again look like they have life. But then just 5 minutes later, the Leafs come in on a 3-on-2. Nick Petan goes backdoor for Jason Spezza. And again, this one's Gaudette, who didn't come back to pick his guy up. It's a 3-on-2. The centerman's job is to pick up whoever the defense aren't. And he didn't pick him up. And this is something we'll go over again in our breakdown tomorrow. And then, a few minutes or about 8 minutes after that, Nylander hits Tavares backdoor. And then on this one, Mott just didn't catch up to him. It's on a rush again. Mott sort of gets lazy, doesn't stay on Tavares. The puck goes to Tavares. Mott reaches, can't get him, can't stop the play. And it's 5-2 at this point. This game's over at this point. Canucks go to the power play. With about a minute and a half to go in the second period off of a Nick Petan penalty for slashing. And then Mikheyev goes down the ice 2-on-1 and almost scores shorthanded. Just terrible play here. 11-8 the shots in the second for Toronto, making it a total of 23-14 after 2. In the third period, right at the start of the period, Edler takes a slashing penalty. Basically, Hyman tried to break free on him. Edler tied him up, got the slash. And again, the Leafs power play was dangerous. Canucks kill it off. A few minutes later, Jason Spezza just walks Alex Edler, just burns him to the outside, cuts in front of the net, in front of Demko, wraps it around, does the old one of these, wraps it around Demko to make it 6-2. 30 seconds later, or not 30 seconds later, 2 minutes later, Brock Besser takes a hooking penalty. Kerfoot then took a penalty 18 seconds later for 1-6, so we go to 4-on-4. Tavares takes an interference penalty, sort of got as he did sort of a turn, his back foot caught Quinn Hughes in the skate, so took him down for interference. We go to 4-on-3. JT Miller scores, wrist shot from the left face-off circle, just sort of beat Anderson's short side to make it 6-3. Another assist for Quinn Hughes here. And then literally a few seconds later, Tyler Myers hits the post, and this would have made it interesting, right? 6-4. I had already written a page of a rant that I went over at the start here, and he hits the post, almost makes it interesting, but he doesn't. And then 3 minutes later, the Canucks can't clear the zone. They are stuck in their zone for an entire 2 minutes. The TSN broadcast in Toronto, I saw a screenshot on Twitter, they had a thing come up that was like Sutter ice time, or Sutter shift timer, and it was like a minute and a half or whatever, and then Toronto scored right after that. There was a Marner shot from the top of the circle that beat Thatcher Demko. With about 3 minutes left, the game's already over. Simmons has a bit of a dangerous hit on Quinn Hughes, and it's very similar to the Chatfield hit that was earlier in the game. Both of them don't have a place in the game. And everyone on Canucks Twitter even no one liked that Chatfield hit on Kerfoot. I don't think it was malicious, just like I don't think the Simmons hit on Hughes was malicious. Unfortunate. The guy turns, ends up getting him in the numbers on both sides. So Ben goes to have a brawl with him. They sort of dance around for 20 seconds, and then Simmons had a hands free, and Ben couldn't get a hand free. So Simmons sort of laid a beating on him there. Edler took a penalty with a minute to go because he didn't want Spezza to beat him again, and that's basically it. This is the second 3-game losing streak for the Canucks this season already. And now we get into our plus and minus segment. The plus segment's going to be actually, I have a few pluses here. Niels Höglander, a plus again. His battle level is so good. He's so fun to watch. Mott's physicality, he had 6 hits in this one. I think Quinn Hughes was a little bit better tonight, to be honest. I don't know how many goals against he was out for, but he just looked like himself again. The Sens beat Montreal, I think. There was 2 minutes left when I started recording this, so I don't know. And maybe this will be enough for a change. The Canucks fan base, when Mike Gillis got fired, most of that was because the Canucks fan base was rabid for Fire Gillis. Fire Gillis, in sort of the infancy of Twitter, like 7 years ago, not really infancy, but back before a lot of people were on Twitter, that was all over it, was Fire Gillis. And Aquilini will cave to public pressure, and it will probably happen soon. On the minus side, discipline. Overall discipline. Just lack of effort, lack of keeping your man tied up, silly penalties like that Tyler Myers penalty again. Just this team doesn't have discipline, and that might be a coaching issue. That might be an effort issue. It's hard to tell, right? Just watching the games on TV. We're not in the room. We don't know what the players are feeling. I could see like a players only meeting coming up soon. Calgary did that when they were like 3-3. So I could see that happening. Horvat scored in this one, but he didn't have a good game. That his passing was an issue. There was probably 4 plays in the first period and a couple in the second period when I wrote this down, where he tried to just get the puck out of the zone, make a pass to somebody, and it was too weak. Didn't have enough on it, and it gets picked off and goes the other way. And that just kept happening. I want to see the turnover stats for Horvat's game. I think that might have been up there. Halfway through the second, I wrote this down as well. They were clearly gassed. The Canucks were gassed. They were getting just outskated by Toronto, and you could tell that they didn't have it in them to get back in it. The defense was awful again, like I went over in that rant there. Demko just wasn't the best. Obviously, he let in 7 goals on like 40 shots. Lots of those were grade A's. You want him to make more saves, but even if he had, does that change the result of this game? Probably not. Lack of back check probably led to at least 3 goals against. And that's just basically the guy coming back doesn't pick up the third man. The centerman doesn't pick up the high guy, and that results in goals against. And again, that breakdown tomorrow, we'll go into that. The Canucks allowed 1 million shots again. I don't know what it was, 38, 39, 40, somewhere up there. You can't win games allowing 38 goals, and again, or 38 shots, and again, 5 goals against. 7 in this case. This is their 8th time in 14 games that they've allowed at least 5 goals. You cannot win games allowing 5 goals, because then you have to score 6, and that's really hard to do. Game pucks for this one, as I fall over. Game pucks for this one for the Canucks, it's tough. I'm going to give it to Niels Höglander. He is a driving force, and he's only like 20, 21 years old. He's going to be a good player in this league. He's going to be an excellent like second-line grinder, and that's what he is already. So he's super fun to watch. On the Leafs side, it's Jason Spezza. I was thinking about giving it to Austin Matthews because Matthews had an excellent game, and he is a game breaker. He can just turn it on. He can outskate people. He wins battles in the corner. But I'm going to give it to Spezza. He's like 38, got a hat trick. Good for him. He's always, it's like 10 years ago. Next game for this series, Saturday, 4 p.m. versus Toronto again for the Canucks. They also play on Monday at 4 p.m. Saturday, Hockey Night in Canada. I'm sure, there's going to be some complaining about the announcers. It's probably going to be in Toronto, and it'll be Toronto announcers. So it could be, I don't know, maybe like Rick Ball or something. We'll see. That's all I've got for this one. This is like 14 minutes because of this dumb little full-page rant that I wrote. Hopefully the Canucks can turn it around. I don't have a lot of faith, though, because I think their only way to win is to start scoring early and build up a 3-goal lead so that the other team loses their edge to come back. Because if the other team has motivation and drive, they are going to score 4 or 5 goals every night on this defensive system and on this defensive personnel. So like I said earlier, please subscribe. Stay tuned to what we have coming up here. So tomorrow, again, we'll do a breakdown of these defensive issues. That's all I got for you guys. Make sure to like the video if you're new here, and if you enjoyed the video, I will see you tomorrow.